Okay, this is the photo opportunity of a lifetime. So good to see you.
Yeah.
Please, come join us.
Hi.
This is Barbara and Bernard, Kim Shannon.
Hello, lovely to see you again.
Would you like to get in the middle?
Oh, sure.
I know you like blondes.
I just follow offers.
Here,
Okay.
okay?
There we go. Come on.
Let's hear it for Variant Perspective. So this means very much,
Yeah.
Warren.
I'll do a 5-minute Q&A with you if you'd like.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, please have a seat, have a seat. So, I guess may I ask the first obvious question, which is, what do you think about an all-female investing conference?
Well, here, I'll give you this one. I think it's great, but I think it's way overdue. I may have heard the story, but I asked me whether I was from Nebraska or New York, or they didn't, all these, they didn't ask me what my religion was or anything like that. They joined up because initially they joined up because they were part of my family. First 105.
Lucky, that's a lottery.
It was $105,000, in the partnership originally. But then once I had a record, the word slowly spread, and it's an interesting. I just happened to think of this the other day. When we liquidated the partnership at the end of 1969, which was 13 years later, we did not have one institutional investor, and I never even thought about them. Basically, I wouldn't have approached anybody. But essentially, with word of mouth, with individuals, primarily in Omaha originally, and it did grow over time. And we shut new money off about 1965 or thereabouts. It didn't make any difference to these people. Oh, I had one couple from Ann Arbor, Michigan, husband and wife, who were both psychiatrists, and they heard about me from somebody, and I'd never known them. They were wonderful people, but they suggested, they'd said they'd heard about me and possibly interested in joining the partnership. So we agreed to meet in Chicago the next time I was there, and they came from Ann Arbor, and we met, had dinner. And I felt they joined, and I thought that was wonderful because I felt that I'd passed the psychiatric examination. I all through dinner I thought, do I laugh at this joke or not, but they shouldn't, and I don't think they would have in this particular couple. It shouldn't make any difference to them whether I'm male or female. It really didn't. They just really wanted to hear what I had to say. And I did have an audited record by that point. And I've always felt that that's very important in money management, is that basically it isn't that the record means everything, but it's the door opener, and then people should understand how you achieve that record and see if they are in sync with your reasoning and everything. But I just think I always thought it would open up bigger than it has in terms of women, because it's just such a objective thing. It really didn't make any difference if I had bad breath or anything else. I operated a little place all by myself, and nobody had to worry about how I behaved or what I wore to the office or anything of the sort. And so I welcome to the club, and I think it's a good club.
Well, we're so pleased to be part of your club. And thank you for this meeting, because people have come from around the world. There are people who aren't here but have given us support, brought their media in. Do we have time for one follow-up?
Sure.
Okay. Anybody up here or out in the audience?
Or Deshay?
We'll give you two. We'll give you two.
Two. Excellent.
Two questions, and then I'll have to head off. Two more.
Okay.
Where's two?
Two, right there. Two.
Okay.
Okay. And then Amanda?
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Oh, can you stand up so we can all
Yeah,
hear?
can't quite. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, you're really deep into value investing, and your style has also evolved over the years. With Berkshire now owning Amazon and Apple and other traditionally more growth names, and so what does that mean for how has value investing evolved, and where is it headed in the future?
as my partner Charlie says, what else is there but value investing? We don't consider ourselves value investors. We consider ourselves investors, and there's only one thing to do in investing. I mean, that goes back, to Aesop in 600 BC. I mean, he said a bird in the hand's worth two in the bush. And he really was laying out, he was laying out the theory of investing. I mean, the question is how far away is the bush, and and how sure are you the bird is in the bush? But all investing is to lay out something now to get more later on, and in terms of purchasing power, not in terms of a specific currency. And you essentially discounted cash proceeds of any business between now and Judgment Day is the appropriate way to value every business. Now, some of them are easier to evaluate. A bond is the easiest one. If it's a U.S. government bond, you know what the coupons are between now and whenever it matures, and you calculate that against the current rate for similar bond, then you decide what the value is. The only difference with stocks is you have to print the coupon as an analyst. You have to sit there and look at Berkshire Hathaway, look at any other business, and say how much can you expect in cash between now and Judgment Day, discounted back at a rate. And there is no such thing in our mind as value or growth investing. The idea is to have your money grow, and you get that by getting good value in relation to the projected cash that comes out of a business. Graham used to actually talk about a company called the Frozen Corp. We talked about that in class. And assume you had a business that by its charter could never pay anything. It could do all these wonderful things, but it couldn't pay anything. It was just prohibited by charter. What would it be worth? Well, it wouldn't be worth anything. I mean, it'd be a wonderful business, but at some point it has to have, you have to look at what it'll distribute between now and Judgment Day. And you can say, well, how does that apply to Berkshire? Well, the answer is the discounted value of the cash that can be produced has grown year over year, even though we don't distribute anything. As it becomes 3 in the bush and 4 in the bush and 5 in the bush, and if that happens at a rapid enough rate, it's much better than actually grabbing the 2 birds that were there in the first place. That's everything. I mean, Aesop was a very wise man. I mean, he wasn't wise enough, though, that he was living in 600 BC. That would have taken a little foresight that he was not possessed with. But it's the basic formula.
Sir, I'm sorry, we had pointed to Amanda earlier, so for 2, let's...
So mine isn't actually a question. So Amanda Pollinger, I'm the CEO of a global association of women and men in the finance industry, 15,000 members, called 100 Women in Finance. And one of the organizations that we've supported is Smart Women Securities.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to thank you for what you've done for Smart. So Smart Women Securities does a stock picking competition every year for women at universities. So they have investment clubs around the country. And very often men say to me, how can we be helpful? And I just wanted to thank you and use you as an example, because Mr. Buffett invited the winners of that competition to Omaha, Nebraska, and that photograph went viral and meant a lot. Those young women will have been inspired by the fact that you had them here. So mine was more a comment that we need more men who are actually advocating in the ways that they can for young women in the industry.
Oh. You have to allow for the fact that we men, it was a lot more fun competing with 50% of the world than 100% of the world. But that game is over. But Tracy, she was then Tracy Britt, and she and another woman formed the Smart Women Securities just at Harvard originally, and then it spread, and she got her job actually by the fact that her group came out, and then it kept coming. But Tracy made a favorable impression on me, and later went to work for us, and now she's running the Pampered Chef, which is a very substantial business. No, the Smart Women Securities group, they would come out, and we'd have a class on a Friday, and then Saturday they would get quizzes on all these things. It was very well organized, and I admired everybody I met in that group a lot.
Warren, I'm imagining there's one question that everybody is really dying to get an answer to. Do you think women invest differently from men?
Well, I wouldn't think so. I don't, there's no way I can really answer that question, but I would say this. Both my sisters loaded up on Berkshire Hathaway too, so that was, if that's any indication. Two-thirds of the family did it without being on the inside, so you got to say they were smarter even than I was on in terms of this. And no, I have not seen anything. I don't see that much because I don't interact actually with other investing groups that much. We really are more interested in buying businesses, and of course, stock is part of a business. But I don't. When I was in my 20s, I knew a number of people my own age that were good at investing, and they were friends of mine that I'd met in Graham's class or various ways, or I lived in New York for a couple of years. But I don't really interact that much with other investors. But I've certainly nothing in my 88 years that would tell me that for some reason women, I don't think that I don't really have any category other than just an assessment of the record and how they achieve the record, and sort of what I've learned about trustworthiness over years that would really cause me to make a distinction on that. That is one of the things. Most things you get worse at as you get older. Believe it or not, I was always in lousy shape, and that's one thing. I haven't deteriorated that much because I started so low. But I do think the one thing I think you should actually be smarter at as you get older is actually human behavior. I don't think you can learn all about human behavior from a book. I could learn all kinds of things about investments and accounting. I wouldn't have needed to go to college, or I could read books, but I think you do learn more about human behavior. But I think what I've learned in the first 88 years is that I don't see any reason for there to be a difference in men and women in making investment decisions. The stock doesn't know who owns you. It's not going to do something different because female eyes are looking at it. And the logic of good investing is so compelling. I mean, that I would say that the only way it would make a difference if somehow you'd been brainwashed, and that could be any group. It could be women. It could be you name it, to thinking you couldn't do it. I mean, it's very important to have the self-assurance to believe that you can do something. And if part of the background was an educational system and a culture that told you really weren't any good at something, you won't be good at something. I mean, that becomes a self-fulfilling type thing. But I would say this: if an investment idea came in from the outside, I would not ask the sex of the person who was sending it. It wouldn't make any difference.
I think we can all agree that for this change to happen, that you're very much advocating, Warren. It's critical that we have the support of all you here, but particularly, Warren, thank you so much for being here today.
I will say this: you're in a very interesting field. You can make a lot of money, but you can also have a lot of fun. And as my friend Charlie said to me when we started out, I mean, we're in a business, where he's 95 and I'm 88, and we have a good time every day. And there's something to that as well as making a lot of money. Thanks.
Are your tap shoes on today?
Yeah.
Your tap dancing to work.
It was totally figuratively. I can't dance worth a damn.